Rain hammered the two-lane at midnight when the Harley convoy braked hard. In the strobing headlamps, a pregnant woman staggered from the ditch, mud on her knees, blood on her cheek, one hand cradling her belly. "He left me to die," she whispered, then collapsed. "Before we start the story, tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? And if you enjoy our stories, please consider subscribing to our channel. It'll help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers and keep sharing more inspiring content with you." The lead bike cut its engine, and the night breathed again. Beck Lansing, Hellsangels captain, White Hollow Charter, was already off his Harley, boots sinking into the shoulder's gravel. He knelt fast, 2 fingers to the woman's neck, pulse thin and wobbling. "Talk to me," he said, voice low, steady. Her eyes fluttered. "Names, Mara, please. Don't let him come back." Beck Sargent, a quiet mountain of a man everyone called Nine, swung his jacket off and tucked it around her shoulders. "Ambulance? Closest unit is 40 minutes, Beck said, scanning the lonely ribbon of road, the cornfields gleaming black with rain. Red tail lights stacked behind the convoy as the brothers idled into a protective arc. Mara winced. "My ribs." He kicked. A contraction tore through the sentence. She swallowed a cry, gripping Beck's wrist with a wild, terrified strength. "Load and go," Beck ordered. The Angels moved like a pit crew. Nine cleared space in the chase van. Stitch, their road medic, snapped on gloves, and Diesel killed traffic with a strobing wand and a stare nobody argued with. Beck lifted Mara carefully. "You're safe," he said. "I'm not asking permission." Ridgewater County Hospital glowed like a tired ship in a wet sea. The convoy rolled into the drop lane shoulder to shoulder, exhaust steaming, chrome beaded with rain. Nurses inside went still at the sight. Hell's Angels patches, wet leather, faces carved by weather and miles. Stitch pushed the doors with his hip, wheeling Mara on a gurney he'd practically built from the van's toolbox. 30-ish female, 3rd trimester, blunt trauma to ribs, possible placental concerns, hypotensive but responsive, he said, crisp as any EMT. A triage nurse recovered, nodding. "Trauma 3. You can't all come back." Nine tipped his chin toward the waiting room. "We'll be quiet as church pews." Beck walked beside the gurney. Mara's fingers found his cut, clinging. "He said the baby ruined me," she whispered. "Said I was dead weight." Beck's jaw locked. "What's his name?" Her breath hitched. "Tyler Voss." Heads lifted at the charting station. The name carried a sour gravity even here. The automatic doors sighed shut on the gurney's wheels. Beck stopped at the line he wasn't allowed to cross, dripping on the mat, listening to monitors bloom into beeps. Outside, the convoy settled into vigil. Coffee, silence, and a wall against whatever followed. Hospitals are made of whispers. The Angels sat under buzzing lights while the night shift pretended not to stare. Diesel passed out vending machine coffees, the cardboard heat a small mercy in cold hands. Rain soared at the windows. TV news flickered without sound. Nine leaned forward, forearms on his knees. "You know Voss?" Beck kept his eyes on the trauma doors. Ran guns through the quarry roads. "Owes a lot of men a lot of money. Owes a lot of women their lives back." The triage nurse reappeared, softer now. "She's stable. Baby's stubborn, heartbeat strong. She keeps asking for you." Beck nodded once. Inside, Mara lay under a heat lamp's glow, oxygen cannula making her look smaller than she was. Her eyes opened when his boots stopped at the threshold. "You stayed," she breathed. "Until you're bored of me," he said, easing a smile that reached nowhere but his eyes. She swallowed. "He said he'd put me in a ditch and nobody would look." "They were wrong about us, too," Beck said. "A lot of folks looked and didn't see the human part. We make do anyway." A monitor pinged like a metronome for courage. Blue strobes painted the waiting room glass. Sheriff Calder walked in like he owned rain, hat tucked, paperwork already accusing. Two deputies hovered behind him, restless with borrowed authority. "Heard you boys delivered a mess," Calder said. "Name's Mara Linden on the chart. You withholding statements?" Beck stood, slow and tall. "We delivered a woman." Calder's eyes flicked over patches, counting sins that weren't his to count. "Tyler Voss filed a report earlier tonight. Claims his wife stole his truck and assaulted him." Nine laughed once, a dark, low thing. "She assaulted the ground with her face." The deputies shifted, hands near holsters out of habit more than need. The nurse from triage appeared like a guardian angel in sneakers. "Sheriff, unless you brought an OB board and a miracle, you can keep your boots in the hallway." Calder swallowed the room's pushback, then leaned into Beck. "If Voss shows, he's mine." "Wrong," Beck said quietly. "She's not yours to trade." Something in the sheriff's face calcified. "Stay out of my way." Beck didn't blink. "I'll stand exactly where her shadow needs me." Rain applauded the windows. Somewhere deeper, a monitor found a calmer rhythm. At 3:17 a.m., the TV finally mattered. A breaking banner screamed red, while a newscaster mouthed words none of them could hear until 9 jammed the volume. "And a single-vehicle rollover on County 12 near Black Pike Bridge. Driver identified as Tyler Voss, 34. Declared deceased at scene." Silence snapped tight. Diesel exhaled first. "That makes her a widow," Beck finished, voice flat, carrying all the ways that wasn't justice. The triage nurse appeared again, softer than before. "She's asking for water." "And for the man with the road on his face." Beck followed her back. Mara listened as he told her carefully. No romance, no triumph, just the fact of it. Her gaze drifted to the ceiling tiles, counting an afterlife she hadn't asked for. Finally she whispered, "He left me for dead and beat the part of me that still believed." "Then the road sent you?" Beck rested his palm on the rail. "The road sends who it can." From the doorway, Calder watched them both, eyes narrower now, phone buzzing with the politics of a dead man. Outside, the angels began calling their families off the line. Dawn waited, pale and patient, for whatever came next. By sunrise, the storm had washed Ridgewater clean, but nothing about the morning felt new. Mara slept in post-surgery haze while the angels waited outside, smoke curling into gold light. Beck leaned against the railing, coffee cooling in his hand. The world smelled like wet asphalt and antiseptic, a mix that never promised peace. Nine handed him a folded newspaper, wet edges bleeding ink. "Voss wasn't alone," he said. "Truck rolled after a chase. Witness says 2 more bikes peeled off before it hit." Beck frowned. "His crew? Maybe. Maybe someone tying up loose ends." Inside, Mara stirred, eyes fluttering open. Beck stepped in quietly. "Morning," he said. She blinked, groggy but aware. "You stayed." "I said I would." Her fingers brushed the blanket where her belly once swelled. "The baby." "Still kicking," Beck said softly. "Girl? They moved her to NICU. Doc says she's got fight in her." Tears came slow, soundless. "She deserves better than the world I had." Beck nodded. "Then we make her a new one." Outside the glass, the road shimmered, waiting, its lines stretching toward something that could almost be called mercy. 2 days later, the hospital felt smaller, heavier. Reporters circled the parking lot, scenting blood in the water. "Widow of outlaw Tyler Voss, rescued by Hell's Angels," one headline blared online. Mara read it once, then turned the phone face down. Beck sat across from her in the waiting room. "You don't owe them your story," he said. "I owe the truth," she replied. "They'll twist it anyway, but lies got me here." He watched her for a long moment, thin, stitched, strong despite it all. "You ever ridden before?" he asked suddenly. She blinked. "A bike?" "No." "Good. You'll learn the right way," she laughed. Weak but real, and for the first time since that night. Her eyes carried something like life. Outside, Diesel gunned his Harley, a deep growl through the quiet. The noise made the windows hum. Mara turned to Beck. "You all scare people." He shrugged. "So does thunder. Still saves you from drought." That line stuck with her. By the time she was discharged, she didn't thank him. She just nodded once, the kind of nod that meant she'd already decided to ride. The convoy escorted her from Ridgewater to the Angels clubhouse, an old freight depot outside town that smelled of oil and oak smoke. The walls were plastered with maps, memorial photos, and old patches from men long gone. Mara walked in slow, one arm clutching her hospital blanket like a shield. Conversation stopped. Even in this world, few things silenced a room faster than raw truth. A woman broke the quiet first, a biker's wife named Tess, apron dusted with flour. "You look like hell, sweetheart," she said. "Come sit. We fix people better than we fix engines." Mara smiled faintly. "That's not saying much." "Maybe," Tess said. "But engines don't thank you after." Beck watched from the corner, arms crossed, his face unreadable. The club had buried brothers, burned rivals, and outrun sheriffs. But this was different. It wasn't a rescue anymore. It was responsibility. Later, when night fell and the laughter softened, Mara stood by the door watching the bikes line up under string lights. "You ever think," she asked quietly, "that the road chooses who it saves?" Beck answered without looking up. "Every damn mile." The peace didn't last. 3 nights later, Diesel caught movement near the compound gate. 2 figures on dirt bikes, scouting. By morning, tire tracks marked the mud road heading north. "They're checking who she's with," Beck muttered. "Voss had partners. Someone still wants what he stole." "What was it?" Nine asked. "Cash, guns, or something that makes men kill this long after." Mara overheard from the doorway. "He said he was done running," she said softly. "Guess he meant me." Beck met her eyes. "Not anymore." He motioned to Nine. "Lock down the yard. No rides till we know who's hunting." The hours dragged slow. Every engine rev felt like a threat. Mara sat in the main room, tracing her daughter's name on a hospital tag. Lila Voss, tiny, fierce, breathing. Tess found her staring at it. "You okay?" Mara shook her head. "I don't want her to grow up scared of shadows." "Then let her see you walk through them," Tess said simply. By dusk, Diesel's radio cracked alive, unfamiliar voices laughing too close. The past hadn't finished with her yet. The first bullet shattered a beer bottle. The second took the neon Halo bar sign clean off its mount. Glass rained across the floor. "Down!" Beck shouted, grabbing Mara and pulling her behind the pool table. The Angels moved on instinct, Diesel and Nine diving toward the gate, Tess dragging another woman to cover. The staccato bark of semi-autos echoed against the metal siding. It lasted maybe a minute, but it felt like an hour. Then silence. Tires squealed away down the gravel road. Smoke drifted through the open door. Beck stood slowly, gun still drawn. "No one hurt?" "Couple cuts," Diesel called back. "They wanted to scare us." Beck's jaw clenched. "They failed." Mara trembled, glass glittering in her hair. "They know where I am." "They always did," Beck said quietly. "Now they know where I stand." Outside, headlights swept past the fields, retreating, regrouping, maybe promising another night like this one. Beck holstered his weapon, eyes scanning the horizon. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." Mara looked at him, voice thin but certain. "I'm not. I'm angry." That, he thought, was better. Anger could drive. Fear only froze. By morning, the compound smelled of gasoline and iron resolve. The Angels patched holes, swept glass, and tightened bolts like surgeons prepping for a storm. Beck moved among them in silence, checking locks, checking faces. Mara watched from the porch steps, hospital wristband still clinging to her arm. "You think they'll come back?" she asked. Beck didn't stop working. "They always come back. Question is, who's waiting? She studied him. The way command seemed to hang on him like weight. Why risk this? You don't even know me. He met her gaze. We know what it looks like to be left in a ditch. That stopped her. There was no pity in his tone, just recognition. Nine came out wiping his hands on a rag. Vans fueled. Diesel's got the route mapped. If we gotta move her and the kid, we can. Mara shook her head. No more running. Not from ghosts. Beck's eyes softened, almost proud. Then we don't run. We make them wish they had. Thunder rolled far off, weather or war. It was hard to tell anymore. That afternoon, Beck rode out alone, following the back road toward the burned quarry, a place once used for arms deals and betrayals. He stopped, where the ground still reeked faintly of diesel and gunpowder. Tracks ran east, old but familiar. Voss's crew had used these roads for years. He crouched, gloved hand brushing the dirt, remembering the first time he'd met Voss. Two younger men with the same hunger, both thinking outlawry made them free. One of us grew up, Beck muttered. A black pickup idled in the distance. He felt it before he saw it, the thrum of threat in the air. A man stepped out, tattooed neck, cheap grin. Heard you're playing babysitter to the widow, the man said. She's got something of ours. Beck straightened, eyes calm. She's got a kid. That's all. Not what Tyler told us. The man's smirk died when Beck stepped closer. Then Tyler lied to both of us. They stared, road heat shimmering between them. Finally, the stranger backed off, spitting dust. You're gonna regret picking her side. Beck watched the truck disappear. Already picked, he said softly, starting his Harley. Already don't. When Beck returned, dusk had fallen heavy. He found Mara in the old barn, sitting beside an oil drum fire, a bottle of water in her hands. Her daughter, tiny, swaddled, slept in a portable crib beside her. You went out there, she said. I had to know what's coming. And? He leaned against the post. Men who think fear makes them immortal. She nodded, eyes glassy in the firelight. He used to tell me that. Said fear was a tool. Said it kept me loyal. Beck crouched beside her. Fear keeps you alive. Loyalty makes you human. They're not the same thing. She looked at him then, something breaking open in her expression. Do you ever get tired of saving people who don't think they're worth saving? He smiled faintly. Every day. But I keep doing it anyway. The baby stirred, tiny fingers curling. Mara reached down, brushing her daughter's hand. Her name's Lila, she whispered. Beck nodded once, slow and deliberate. Lila it is, in that moment. Something unspoken passed between them. Something not romance, not duty. Just the kind of trust that comes from surviving the same fire twice. The next night brought silence, the dangerous kind. No headlights on the road, no wind through the pines. Even the dogs stayed quiet. Beck sat outside the clubhouse, cigarette ember glowing like a heartbeat. Ning joined him, helmet under his arm. You ever think we attract trouble? Beck exhaled smoke. Trouble's just the road checking if you still deserve it, Nine grunted. You're getting poetic again. Maybe I'm just getting old. From inside came the faint sound of Mara's voice singing to the baby, low, almost prayer-like. It softened something in both men that they'd never name. A car door slammed down the hill. Beck crushed his cigarette, hand sliding to his sidearm. Diesel's radio crackled. Movement at the fence. 2 trucks? Nine's face hardened. Guess peace clocked out early. Let's greet them proper, Beck said, rising. Engines flared to life one by one, the club's roar swelling into a thunder that rolled across the valley. Mara stood in the doorway, clutching her child. Beck glanced back once. Lock the door, he said. Then the storm began again. The attack came fast, headlights cutting through dust, gunfire stitching the air. Beck's Harley lay on its side as he and Diesel returned fire from behind the low wall. Bullets sparked against concrete. Gravel jumped like rain. Nine flanked right, shouting, 2 on the ridge. Beck answered with controlled bursts, his mind frighteningly calm. The years had taught him war never ends. It just changes names. Inside the clubhouse, Mara crouched behind the bar, shielding Lila beneath a jacket. "Come on, baby, just breathe," she whispered, every shot echoing through her bones. Then silence. One truck's engine sputtered out. Another reversed fast, tires screaming as it tore away into the dark. Beck lowered his rifle, chest heaving. "Count?" "3 down," Diesel said. "1 runner." "Let him run," Beck said, voice gravel. "He'll tell the rest what it costs." Mara stepped out slowly, shaking. Her eyes found Beck through the haze of gun smoke and firelight. "You okay?" she asked. He wiped blood from his cheek, nodded once. "We all are, for now." In that fragile pause, the baby cried, and the sound felt like dawn breaking through chaos. The world went quiet after the last shot. Only the hiss of cooling engines filled the air. Diesel kicked through the debris, checking bodies, muttering numbers under his breath. Beck leaned against the wall, blood running from his temple. Mara walked out barefoot, clutching Lila close. Smoke curled around her hair like ghostly ribbons. "It's over?" she asked. "For tonight," Beck said. "Tomorrow will ask the same question." She stared at the horizon, wide, bruised, uncertain. "You ever get tired of fighting?" "Every damn day," he said. "But the road don't end just 'cause you're tired." He looked down at the baby in her arms, tiny fists, steady breath. "That kid's got more heart than most men I've buried." Mara smiled weakly. "Then she takes after the wrong crowd." He laughed once, short and real. Maybe the right one finally showed up. As dawn broke, the angels gathered what was left of the night. No sirens came, no questions asked. Just engines warming, sun catching chrome, and the quiet truth that some wars end not with victory, but with survival. 2 weeks later, the clubhouse had turned from refuge to family. The bullet holes were patched, the laughter louder. Mara cooked breakfast one morning. Burned eggs, too much salt, but everyone ate like it was gold. Beck walked in mid-shift, helmet in hand, beard scruff thicker, eyes softer. "You feeding an army?" She smirked. "Only the ones who saved my life." Lila slept in a crate lined with flannel, Diesel humming lullabies he'd never admit to knowing. The world still felt fragile, but it was holding. Beck poured coffee, leaned on the counter. "You ever thought about staying?" She hesitated. "This isn't exactly daycare material." "Neither's the world outside," he said. She looked up. "I don't belong here." He nodded. "Neither did most of us once." The radio crackled, news of an arrest in Voss's old circle. One man flipped, talking to the feds. Maybe justice wasn't clean, but it was something. Mara exhaled. "Guess ghosts do fade after all." Beck smiled. "Only when you stop feeding them." Outside, sunlight spilled across rows of bikes. For the first time, she wanted to hear the engines sing again. That evening, Beck took her out on the open road. No convoy, no followers, just 2 souls and a stretch of asphalt. Mara clung lightly at first, unsure of her balance. The wind pulled her hair free, the hum of the Harley a heartbeat under her palms. "Hold tighter," Beck called over his shoulder. She laughed into the wind. "If I hold tighter, you'll have to marry me." "Then I better slow down." He shot back, and she did something she hadn't in months. She laughed without pain. They rode until dusk turned violet. The world looked bigger from the saddle, fields alive, sky endless. When they stopped at a ridge overlooking the valley, Beck killed the engine. Silence returned, soft and steady. Mara dismounted, staring at the fading horizon. "I used to think the road was where people went to run away," she said. Beck shrugged. "Sometimes it's where they go to come home." She nodded slowly, eyes wet. the wind tugging at her jacket. In that moment, freedom didn't roar. It whispered. And she finally understood what survival could feel like when it wasn't just escape. The weeks stretched into rhythm. Lila grew stronger, her cries turning to giggles that filled the yard. Tess built her a cradle out of Harley parts and wood scraps. Half art, half rebellion. The angels, men built of scars and storms, softened around her without noticing. Beck caught Diesel once, making faces to make the baby laugh. "You tell anyone, I'll flatten your tires," Diesel growled. Yeah, Beck said. "You're a real menace." Mara watched them from the porch, warmth spreading where fear used to live. For the first time, she wasn't counting days or exits. She was building roots. On Blacktop, in Brotherhood, in something she hadn't believed in before. Peace. That night, she sat by Beck under the stars. "You think people like us get happy endings?" He glanced at her, eyes reflecting firelight. "Nah," he said. "We get new beginnings. Better trade, if you ask me." She smiled, leaning back against the step, Lila asleep between them. The air smelled of oil, dust, and something holy. Maybe redemption always did. The road was quiet, but its promise still hummed in her bones. Spring came slow to Ridgewater, painting the world in hesitant green. Mara stood outside the clubhouse, Lila perched on her hip, watching the convoy roll out for a charity ride, helmets glinting, flags whipping in the wind. Beck paused beside her, engine idling low. "We'll be back by dark." "Try not to get shot," she teased. He grinned. "We try that every day." As he pulled away, she caught her reflection in his rearview mirror, stronger, steadier, alive. Tess joined her with a mug of coffee. "You ever think you'd end up here?" Mara shook her head. "I used to think the road took everything from me. Turns out it gave me back what mattered." The Harleys thundered down the road, fading into horizon and dust. Lila clapped her tiny hands at the sound, laughing at the echo. Mara smiled, whispering to her daughter, "Remember that sound, baby. That's the sound of people who don't quit." Behind them, sunlight caught the angels' insignia painted on the clubhouse wall, worn, defiant, beautiful. And for the first time, the word family didn't hurt when she said it. Some rides end, others keep going long after the engines cool. If this story found you tonight, remember, strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it cries, heals, and gets back up again. Ride safe, stay kind, and keep the faith in the road ahead.